have a timer set on my YouTube. Hold on, I'm picking up my order from Target. My Target order. But no, I have a timer set on my YouTube that only allows me a certain amount of hours per day, and I believe that I went over that time because I was listening to like music on it this morning as I was, doing my getting ready for school things. All of that to say, I apologize for the interruption, but we are back, right? One of the things that I think is very crippling for Black women as we navigate life and as we navigate the world is this tendency for people who should be advising us, for people who should be counseling us, for people who should be helping us, to try to make simple and obvious things a mystery. Um, Hold on, guys. I'm just pulling out of this parking lot. People be driving a little bit crazy in Target's parking lot. It's wild to me every day. Every day that I have to come here, I'm always like, this is wild. But anyway, simple, really straightforward, obvious things will always be framed as a mystery when it comes to Black women. And to me, the root of this seems to be any opportunity to keep us in a position of servitude for as long as is humanly possible. And especially servitude that completely denies our humanity and completely denies our need for basic human shit, kindness, affection, love, acceptance, you know, anything that keeps us in a loop, that keeps us from getting that. People will couch it in mystery. And what I mean by that is if you say, when I go to this job, my direct supervisor refuses to help me understand all the intricacies and nuances of the job. She seems to be constantly trying to sabotage my work, and she seems to go out of her way to make it seem like I'm not doing what I'm actually doing. And this is when you first get to the job. Let's say you've been there just a couple of weeks. And what I've seen time and time again, and what has happened to me in my life, is if you're a Black woman, very few people will say, well, girl, go on, get on up out of there as quickly as you possibly can so that you can go and look for something else, so that you don't have this terrible work history there to carry with you somewhere else. Like, jump on out of there right now so that you can jump on into the next thing. Very rarely is that said to Black women. Instead of that, the thing that's happening, that's obvious, that you can see and that you're experiencing, is couched in some sort of mystery. Oh, maybe, you're not approaching her properly. Maybe, you should, maybe she's not who you're supposed to ask those questions to. Maybe she hasn't had to work with somebody like you before. Maybe, blah, all of these maybes are brought up as opposed to just listening, validating what you're experiencing, and then teaching you to move on it. It's made into some great mystery, you know? Or let's say you're in school and you are doing well in your class. I was in when I was in my master's program, and I apologize. I hope that my nose is clean. And if it's not, I'm just going to erase the video. But I was in my master's class, and we were assigned in this how to teach composition course that I was taking. We were assigned specific articles to use to show how we would build a lesson plan from that article. And the article that was assigned to me was all about the mystical aspects of writing. And so I said, okay, mystical aspects of writing is going to be difficult to teach to writing students. As a writer, I'm interested in the mystical aspects of writing, but just your regular, average, everyday freshman English students, usually are not. So that's going to be difficult to teach to students. But okay, I'll give it a shot. So, for my lesson plan, I said, I'll teach students about the muses. And, the muses in Greco Roman culture were the deities that inspired you to do certain artistic things. So there's a muse that inspired you to write, a muse that inspired you to dance, a muse that inspired you to do visual arts, etc. And so I said, so I would make to explain the mystical aspects of writing. The only way to get students interested in that, or non-writers interested in that, would be to do a lesson plan on the muses. So I created this entire lesson plan based on the muses. It was quite beautiful, pictures, different examples of how we could be familiar with them as just a lay person throughout history. And the teacher who didn't do this to anyone else's lesson plan, when they presented their lesson plan, she gave them her critique of it after, and that was after the entire class had left. But she interrupted me in the middle of teaching, of presenting my lesson plan, and said, "It seems that what you're doing with your lesson plan is you're mystifying it. You're making writing a mystical process, and writing is not a mystical process. Writing is a concrete science." And blah 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 blah. Now, mind you, she's the one who had assigned me this article about the mysticism of writing. And so in that moment, I felt like she was jealous of me. I was like, this lady is jealous of me. She's jealous of my ability to turn this article into something that would actually be useful for students. And at the end of class, she said, when she brought me over for my critique, which wasn't required because she had already critiqued me in front of the rest of the class, she said, "To be honest, I'm going to use this in some of my teaching." That was her critique. But if I had spoken to someone else about that, the answer that I'm most likely to get as a black woman is, "Well, you probably were mystifying it. Well, you probably were doing the so and so. You should listen. She's been doing this longer than you, blah, 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 blah." Very rarely, what I'm, and I hope are we counseled to listen to ourselves and to believe ourselves and listen and pay attention to and validate and honor the experience that we're having. Very rarely are we counseled to do that. Things are just made to seem some great mystery. Even if we look at quote unquote black femininity coaching that's happening right now, they couch femininity in something as though it is some great mystery. There are mysterious, unknown things that black women have not been taught that will enable us to keep a man. But these things are very mysterious, and they're unknown, and they're not taught to us. They're taught to women in other cultures, and blah, 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 blah. And then they try and push on you that you have to adhere to behaviors or ways of dressing or ways of talking, ways of interacting that do not come naturally to you, that don't come naturally to most people, to be quite honest, but don't come naturally to you. So it becomes this great mystery as opposed to you just listening to your inner voice, as opposed to you just acknowledging your full self, your total self, as opposed to you just taking the time each day to make sure that you are fully present and fully in your body so that you can react to everything that's going on around you in a way that is best for you, you know? So femininity is some mysterious thing that feminine people don't have somehow. It's something that they have to be taught. It's something that they have to be coached on. It's something that has to come from the outside. It's coached in some sort of mystery, couched rather in some sort of mystery. It's a mysterious thing, right? You get married, you get into a marriage, you know, and your husband begins to act strange. Maybe he begins to ignore you. Maybe he begins to withhold physical affection. Maybe he begins to be mean, say mean things to you, put you down, um, any of these things that happen, you go to people for counsel, you go to people for guidance, you go to leaders, spiritual leaders, therapists, all this kind of stuff. And most of the time, the advice that's given to Black women is not concrete. Again, it is something that's put in this mysterious box. Well, you don't know why he's acting like that. Let's take the time to, really look into his past. Is there any reason that you think that he may be reacting like this? Are you approaching him kindly? Are you speaking kindly? When you asked him, why you guys haven't been intimate in 35 years, did you ask it in a nice voice? When you asked him why he said, why he thinks that you are unattractive and ugly and doesn't want to sleep in the bed with you, did you ask him in a nice voice? It's wild. It's wild. And I am not speaking hypothetically. I'm not. I'm not saying what I think. I'm saying what I know. Y'all know I very rarely get on here and say what I think. So what I'm telling you is either stories from my life or stories from the lives of people that I know and am very close to. And literally, when these things happened, that was the advice that was given to those particular Black women. So much so that when things like this started to happen to my friends, when me and my friends from undergrad got into, the age where we were married and trying to build families and buy properties and do all those things that adults are supposed to do, I would be scared to just give a blunt, straightforward answer. I found myself looking for the mystery in the situation when the answer actually looked quite clear according to what was happening. So I'm saying all of this to say the most important thing that you can do in your life is to cultivate a strong sense of trust in yourself. I used to say it more, and I am going to return to saying it much more often, but believe your own eyes. Believe your own ears. Believe your own experience. Your eyes don't have any reason to lie to you. Your ears don't have any reason to lie to you. Your feeling, how your body feels about a particular thing, your emotional reaction to a particular thing doesn't have a reason to lie to you. Everybody else does. Everybody else has a reason to lie to you, but your body does not. So I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage that you cultivate a relationship of trust between yourself and your body, and that you listen to yourself and your body, and that you validate and follow the feelings that you have about a situation over everyone else's, over anyone else's. One of the horrible um offspring of so-called analysts like Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud is that we believe that we can't trust our minds. And so many times, psychoanalysis and therapy, even, has been based in the past in a belief that your mind is wrong. You can't trust your mind. Your traumas are making your mind do something wrong. When most of the time, that is not true. Most of the time, your trauma makes you hyper aware of individuals and situations that can traumatize you again. Hyper aware. I remember one time during in the African dance community, a friend of mine had broken up with her first long-term relationship and had gotten into a new long-term relationship. And I walked into the dance class, and her new long-term relationship person was drumming, and he was new, so I hadn't ever seen him drumming before. But when I walked into the dance class and saw him, I was jarred and immediately terrified because the face that I saw on him was the face of my first husband that had been horribly abusive. And so I kind of stood in the door like, oh my God, how did he get here? How did he know where I was? What is he doing here? And then the real person's face came to mind, came into view. and I didn't know how to process it. And because of Freud and Jung and all of this type of psychoanalysis, I was like, oh, I'm just having some sort of weird flashback. Let me sit down. Let me get a drink of water. Let me get myself together. So I did. I sat down. I got a drink of water. I got myself together. And y'all know what the hell I'm about to say. Y'all know what the hell I'm about to say. I probably ain't even got to say it. But yes, on down the line, I had to rescue that sister from that person. Because what my trauma was showing me is that this person is just like that person was to you. That's why you're looking at him and seeing that person. That's what my trauma was showing me. My trauma was not and never has led me in the wrong direction. When I listen and honor what my body sees, how my body hears something, and how my body feels about something, I am kept safe. I am kept safe. You have got to trust yourself. When has your own personal intuition led you wrong? I'm going to tell you what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, if my intuition was trustworthy, I wouldn't have gotten into a relationship with that asshole in the first place. But how many times when you first met that asshole did you say, I don't think this is right for me? How many times? How many times did your intuition tell you, this ain't it, dog? This ain't it. And some outside force was what kept you in the relationship with the asshole. Some, outside force was what made you take that relationship further. It was not your intuition. It was not your eyes. It was not your heart. It was not your ears. It was not your body. Your eyes, your ears, your body told you to get the hell up out of Dodge from the first time you met that fool. From the first time you met that fool, it was like, get the hell up out of Dodge. And outside forces said, maybe you should give him a chance. Maybe you should stay. Maybe. Now, I'm not talking about meeting somebody and getting to know them. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you meet them, you get to know them, and your intuition tells you this is not it. Get out of here. That's what I'm talking about. Right? So your trauma's not leading you wrong. If you actually listen, she's going to keep you safe because she doesn't want the same thing to happen again. Listen, most things are not couched in mystery. Most things do not have some sort of mysterious cloth wrapped around them that you are unable to perceive. And so you need a counselor or somebody to perceive it for you. Most things are not like that. Most things are not like that. Most things are simple and straightforward and easy to see. What our grandmamas tell us, if it walk like a duck and if it quack, it's probably a duck. And it is in your best interest to assume that it's a duck. It's in your best interest, right? We have got to stop giving people and things and situations the benefit of a doubt. Many times, most of the time, giving shit the benefit of the doubt is what has kept us in an unsafe place. Most of the time, right? So all of that to say, had to turn the air on, guys, so I'm going to speak up a little louder. All of that to say, believe your eyes, believe your ears, believe your body, how your body reacts. Okay, I'm not familiar with that book. Believe your eyes, believe your ears, believe your body, and how it is saying that you should react. If something seems off, then it's off. If you look at a situation and you look at a person and it seems to you that this person is doing this, they're doing that. Okay? It's not, most things are not deep. Most things are not mysterious. Most things are simple. Most things are easy to see. Most liars are bad at it. And most manipulations are transparent. You have been taught to overlook a whole bunch of shit. And that's why I say believe your eyes. Quit overlooking shit. In look. Don't overlook, in look. Look into it. And if your body and your mind is saying this ain't it, then this ain't it. More than likely, this ain't it. You got me? All right. Most shit is not mysterious, y'all. And most shit is easily discernible when you listen to your discernment. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining me in this quick impromptu live ecstasy, abundance, and bliss. To all of those within the sound of my voice who are wishing the same for me and mine. And as always, we wish the lessons of life on anyone who is ignorant enough to wish us otherwise. Peace, y'all.